Tonight, we take a closer look at the findings of a U.S. Commission draft report on human rights and the importance of religious freedom. The report by the Commission on Unalienable Rights, established by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, listed religious freedom as, quote, foremost among human rights. Secretary Pompeo said defending unalienable rights forms the bedrock of U.S. diplomatic policy. Joining me now on Skype to talk more about this report is Dr. Thomas Farr, president of the Religious Freedom Institute. Dr. Farr, welcome back.
Great to be with you, Mark.
Dr. Farr, how does this concept of unalienable rights aid in our security here at home and abroad?
Well, there are lots of rights. There are lots of rights claims. There are a few rights that historically the church has said and natural law philosophers have said come by virtue of your existence as a human being. They're not granted by governments or anybody else. They're everybody's. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, or any other characteristic you have. You have these unalienable rights. And as you said, and as Secretary Pompeo said, religious freedom is not the only one, but it's certainly, according to our founders, the foremost among them. It creates security because of that. We're talking about things like freedom from torture and persecution, the freedom of the press, the freedom to speak out, and most of all, the freedom to discover whether there is a greater than human source of being and ultimate meaning. And when you oppress these, when a government or a private group oppresses these, bad things happen, economies go bad, and violence occurs. So to protect these is important for the security of the people that we're talking about in a given country, but also for our security. So that's why this is so important. It's beyond philosophy and theology. It's about national security.
And Dr. Farr, this report has received some criticism. One critic, Democratic Senator Bob Menendez, says the report narrows the scope of protection for all people. The senator is concerned the rights of women in vulnerable communities around the world are ignored in the report. What's your response to that?
Oh, I think that's just nonsense. That's politics as usual. This is about everybody, as I just said. It's about every human being, and certainly females are incorporated into that. I mean, this is about the rights of women, of men, of every human being, but not on the basis of their gender, on the basis of their humanity and their human dignity. So done properly, this is very, very important. It's important for everybody around the world. I'm very, very sorry to see this become partisan. To a certain extent, it always has been. There are different rights claims, as I say, and there are legitimate disagreements to be had over what is an unalienable right and what isn't.
Dr.
But
Farr,
to reject it on that basis is not a good idea.
We have time for one more. Just for some context, this draft is a draft report, and the Commission isn't designed to make U.S. policy. But that said, what influence, if any, do you think this will have on global human rights policy?
Well, I think it'll have a dramatic influence on the current Ambassador at Large for Religious Freedom, on the current Assistant Secretary of State, Bob Destro, for Human Rights in the State Department. These are people who are wired to believe this report. So I think it's very important. It's also important, though, that if the administration changes, which will happen eventually, that this be absorbed into all of our foreign policy entities. This is very important for our country and for the security of our nation.
Okay, Dr. Thomas Farr, president of the Religious Freedom Institute, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be with you.